Welcome back to beyoungministry.blogspot.com to another blog out of Philippians. Tonight we're in Philippians chapter 2, verses 25 through 30, which reads, "But I think it is necessary to send back to you Epaphroditus, my brother, co-worker and fellow soldier, who is also your messenger, whom you sent to take care of my needs. For he longs for all of you and is distressed because you heard he was ill. Indeed, he was ill and almost died. But God had mercy on him, and not on him only, but also on me, to spare me sorrow upon sorrow. Therefore, I am all the more eager to send him, so that when you see him again, you may be glad, and I may have less anxiety. So then, welcome him in the Lord with great joy and honor people like him, because he almost died for the work of Christ. He risked his life to make up for the help you yourselves could not give me." That's Philippians chapter 2, verses 25 through 30. In our text, the Apostle Paul uses another example of the principle that he gives in Philippians chapter 2, verses 1 through 16. Epaphroditus, also known as Epaphras in Colossians 1:7, is the example. Epaphroditus was a common name drawn from the name of the Greek goddess Aphrodite, who was the goddess of love. In Rome, her name was Venus. Epaphroditus was named after her. Epaphroditus literally means favored by Aphrodite. Favored by Aphrodite. Epaphroditus came out of a pagan background and was converted to Christ. According to verse 25, he was useful to the church in Philippi and the Apostle Paul by delivering a financial gift to Paul from the believers in Philippi. It was an act of love because travel in those days was difficult and quite dangerous. In verse 30, Paul uses a verb, risked, which means to roll the dice. This is what we do when we gamble. It means to expose oneself to danger. In verse 25, Paul describes Epaphroditus as my brother. Epaphroditus was Paul's spiritual brother, and as followers of the Lord Jesus, they both had the same source of life, and the same culture, I might add. And since they shared the same passion to advance the gospel, they had a tight bond in the Lord. Paul also refers to Epaphroditus as my co-worker and fellow soldier. The Greek word used here for fellow soldier is the Greek word stradios, from which we get our word strategist. Paul refers to Epaphroditus as my fellow strategist in the war of the spiritual realm. Like Timothy, Epaphroditus had God's heart for others. He almost died, which caused Paul to have what he describes in verse 27, sorrow upon sorrow. According to verse 28, Paul is sending Epaphroditus back to the Philippians in order to lessen their anxiety. In verses 29 and 30, Paul encourages the Philippians to honor Epaphroditus, who had almost died for the work of Christ. He risked his life to make up for the help you yourselves could not give me, he wrote to the Philippians. Epaphroditus risked his life for the gospel, indicating how invested he was in the ministry of the Lord Jesus. This is what happens when we enter into a personal relationship with the Lord Jesus, and he reveals his heart to us and for us. we begin to develop a deep heart of gratitude for who He is and what He has done in our lives. As our theology develops, we are granted a wider and deeper understanding of His salvation, which ends up melting our hearts of stone. The Lord Jesus has come into our lives, not bent on changing our personality. He does address our ego, and it's good for it to go, that independent self that seeks always to be the center of the stage. He will wage relentless, unending war against that, and the weapon he uses primarily is the cross. He also uses our trials in those moments when we are in need of His grace. He does not destroy our person, though. He indwells us. He enhances us. The result is attractive and transformational. It is at this moment that we experience God as He intended. The gospel is not just a set of rules to get us into heaven or even to make our lives have meaning. It's a movement that transforms God's entire creation, including us. God will make that happen, and He has given us the privilege of being a part of it. And it is out of this perspective, C.S. Lewis once wrote, I believe in Christianity as I believe that the sun has risen, not only because I see it, but because by it I see everything else. My friends, I trust this blog is helpful to you in your walk with the Lord. You can access the podcast by clicking on the memo at the top of the blog, or you can go to Be Young Ministry YouTube channel. If I can be of further assistance to you, shoot me an email at beyoungministry@gmail.com. Hey, have a great day.